Welcome to this overview of the Educator evaluation system at GCVS. Our system is directly aligned with the Massachusetts Model Educator Evaluation System. The work of evaluation should rightfully align with the work of the school. These three big ideas are ones that can be addressed through the evaluation process. Big idea number one refers directly to the self-assessment process in the system. A thoughtful self-assessment process asks you, as the educator, to think about how your work directly impacts learning by identifying areas of strength and targeting challenges as areas for professional growth. Big idea number two refers to the setting of goals and the development of your educator plan. Goals can be set by teams or individually. Part of the expectations of the system is that the development of strong professional culture fueled by goals that are SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. More on this to come. Big idea number three embraces the gathering of evidence of practice. Both educator and evaluator play key roles in this process. The educator evaluation system has 5 steps that are designed to feed each other in a cyclical fashion. If you are familiar with action research as a methodology for improvement of practice, these steps will be ones you recognize. Step 1 is the self-assessment process that begins the work. From there, educators move into Step 2, using that analysis to develop goals and a plan to address them. Once educator and evaluator agree to the plan, Step 3 begins the process of taking the action steps identified in the plan to improve practice. Step 4 is an intermediary step in the process. From there, the plan implementation continues to the moment of the summative evaluation, where progress on goals and performance against standards of practice are measured with recommendations that will feed into the cycle as it begins again. Plans can be 1 or 2 years in duration depending on your status and prior evaluations. This chart shows the flow of a 1-year plan. Any teacher who does not have professional teacher status begins with a 1-year plan. Teachers who are rated needs improvement on their evaluations are placed on a 1-year directed plan where the evaluator plays a key role in shaping the goals and activities. The process begins in September with a self-assessment. You can find the self-assessment form in TeachPoint, our platform for educator evaluation. Once completed, then comes the proposal of goals for the year. Each educator must have 2 goals, 1 student learning goal and 1 professional practice goal. Administrators are also required to have a minimum of 2 school improvement goals. You can find a goal-setting form for this purpose in TeachPoint. By mid-October, all educators should have their goals completed along with action steps to reach them, approved by your evaluator. Together, these comprise the expected SMART goals. For those of you on a 1-year plan, be careful that your goals are attainable during a 7-month period, which is the implementation phase. Then comes the work of implementation and collection of evidence from mid-October to mid-May. Your evaluator will be observing your practice. At least one of those observations will be announced, preceded by a pre-observation conference. You can expect the observation to last for the duration of a full live lesson. After the lesson, a post-observation conference will be held to debrief what was observed and to give feedback. Other observations will be unannounced. These may be during live lessons or they may be done of prior recorded lessons. These will be shorter in duration, 10 to 15 minutes, designed as a quick check-in on how things are going. Educators will also be gathering evidence during this time. Products of practice may include sample lessons or activities. Multiple measures of student learning must include MCAS data for grades and subjects tested. Other assessments such as DIBELS, Easy CBM, and other assessments including the competency-based assessment work we are doing this year comprise the other measures. Other evidence may come from your students or other items that show your progress towards goals or evidence of meeting the 4 standards of practice. In late January to mid-February, your evaluator will conduct a formative assessment. progress on goals and progress on the standards of practice will be assessed. This is also a time when your plan can be adjusted if necessary and agreed to by both educator and evaluator. Sometimes circumstances get in the way of plans and we want to ensure success. Implementation continues until mid-May through mid-June when the final summative evaluation occurs. Based on evidence collected by both educator and evaluator, progress on goals is assessed, ratings are issued for each of the 4 standards of practice, and an overall rating is given. This chart shows the 2-year process, which is designed for professional teacher status educators with a rating of proficient or exemplary in the prior evaluation cycle. The steps are the same as the 1-year plan, but the timeline differs. The implementation phase takes place from mid-October of year 1 through mid-May of year 2, with a formative evaluation to take place in mid-May to mid-June of year 1. There are 4 standards of practice and 4 levels of performance ratings that can be attached to them. The 4 standards of practice listed on this slide are further defined in the state's rubric of practice. Each standard has a series of indicators and elements attached to them. The breadth of them can be overwhelming, so target indicators and elements will be defined as ones aligned to our school's priorities to make it easier for you to flesh out your plans. The 4 performance ratings are given by your evaluator for each of the 4 standards and then for your overall formative and summative evaluations. You will notice that proficient is in italics. The reason for this is that the state has set the bar for performance on these standards very high. Proficient is considered to be a very high standard of performance, where exemplary is a rating reserved for those educators whose practice is worthy of sharing with the broader educational community in our state. Notice that in order to receive an overall rating of proficient, both standards 1 and 2 must have that rating. In order to receive an overall rating of exemplary, both standards 1 and 2 must be rated as exemplary. This slide shows how the process feeds into the ratings. Both the educator and the evaluator contribute to this process. What this means is that you, as an educator, can actually help shape the ratings by submitting high-quality evidence and artifacts of practice aligned to your goals and the standards. The evidence falls into 3 categories. The first is products of practice. Your evaluator will contribute evidence of lessons observed during your cycle. You may wish to add to that body of evidence by submitting sample lesson plans, activities, and assessments. The second category of evidence is multiple measures of learning. MCAS is required to be a part of this process for those grades and subjects that participate in the tests. Other measures of student learning might be normed assessment, such as DIBELS, Benchmark Assessment System, and EasyCBM. Still others might be local assessments within our curriculum or might be tied to our competency assessment project. The final category is more broadly based. It can be any high-quality artifact that shows progress on goals and attainment of standards. These might include student and parent surveys, evidence from professional development work, evidence from our professional learning communities work, logs of two-way communication with parents, etc. All of these pieces of evidence then feed into the ratings on the standards and the assessment of progress towards goals. That then feeds into an overall summative performance rating. Getting started should include looking at some data on student performance. Our 4C Solutions Data Dashboard can help with that. The next step is to look at some high-impact teaching strategies. We've started that process and more will be forthcoming at our October faculty meeting. Reviewing our school accountability plan and our established priorities of engagement and the competency personalization work will also be an important part of this review for you. Be sure to access your TeachPoint account to pull down that form to populate and share with your evaluator. Since the timeline for completion of this process is close to our October PD Day, Time will be given to you to work on finalizing your goals and action plans on that day. Once that's done, we're on to the implementation phase. Thank you for taking the time to review this overview of the Educator evaluation system. Should you have any questions about its implementation, please speak to your evaluator.